Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really diving into something that's pretty important for, well, everyone, the future of food and how it kind of intersects with the future of our planet. You sent in the World Bank's Recipe for a Livable Planet report, and it's a big one.
Yeah.
So get ready to explore how food security and climate change are really intertwined in ways you might not
It's
expect.
similarly.
Expert speaker, this report is packed with insights. What's the biggest takeaway for you?
Hmm. I think what I found so fascinating is how this report really reframes our understanding of climate change.
Okay.
We often focus on things like transportation and energy,
Yeah.
but the report it reveals that the food system, what we eat and how we produce it, contributes a far larger share of global emissions than most people, I think, realize.
Okay, so how big are we talking? Paint a picture for us.
Imagine this.
Yeah,
Our food choices
yeah.
have a bigger impact on the planet than driving a car.
The report states that a whopping 30.8% of total global emissions come directly from the agri-food system. Wow. That's a third.
That's huge.
A third of all emissions. A
Wow.
truly staggering figure.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. It's not just about switching to electric cars. It's about what's on our plates too.
Absolutely. And it's not just carbon dioxide we're talking about. The
Mm.
report emphasizes, looking at the bigger picture, considering the impact of all major greenhouse gases.
Right.
For example, it highlights how methane emissions from livestock, particularly cattle, are a significant contributor. In fact, the report shows that $1 of cattle exports actually leads to significantly higher emissions than $1 of mineral products,
Oh,
which you might not expect.
that's pretty mind-blowing. So it's a much more complex issue than just reducing carbon emissions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why this report is so compelling. It dives into those complexities,
Right.
recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. The path to a net zero food system looks different for a wealthy country like the US
Right.
compared to a developing nation like the Democratic Republic of Congo.
So how does the report recommend tackling this challenge? Is it all doom and gloom, or is there a glimmer of hope?
There's definitely hope, and that's what makes this report so important. It moves beyond simply stating the problem and offers tailored solutions based on a country's income level and specific challenges.
I like the sound of that. Give us some examples. How do these tailored solutions actually work?
For instance, the report suggests that developed nations could focus on promoting plant-based proteins,
Okay.
which aligns with the growing trend of plant-based alternatives we're already seeing.
Makes sense. We've all seen the rise of plant-based burgers and milk alternatives.
Exactly. It's about leveraging existing trends for greater impact.
Mm.
On the other hand, countries with vast forests like the Democratic Republic of Congo
Right.
could prioritize initiatives that protect and restore these natural carbon sinks,
Okay.
essentially getting paid for preserving their forests.
So it's a win-win. Combating climate change and boosting their economies. I'm starting to see why you find this report so hopeful. It's not about sacrificing development. It's about finding solutions that benefit both people and the planet.
Precisely. And the report goes even further, debunking the myth that tackling climate change equals less food for everyone. It highlights that we can actually produce more food while reducing emissions.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How is that even possible? You're telling me we can have our cake and eat it too? More food, fewer emissions? How does that work?
It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Uh,
The report highlights several achievable measures, like tackling the massive issue of food waste. Did you know that nearly a third of all food produced globally ends up wasted?
A third, that's like every third grocery bag going straight into the trash.
Exactly. Reducing that waste isn't just about being less wasteful. It's a huge opportunity to reduce emissions and address food security concerns simultaneously.
It's like we're literally throwing away solutions to climate change and hunger. What else does the report suggest?
Another area with huge potential is improving fertilizer efficiency. Imagine nearly halving the global demand for nitrogen fertilizer. That's a game changer for both the environment and agricultural costs.
Okay, that's huge. I'm starting to see how these seemingly small changes can add up to a big impact.
Absolutely. And then there's the potential of renewable energy in food production. Imagine solar-powered irrigation systems or wind energy powering food processing plants. It's about making the entire system more sustainable from farm to table.
Like swapping out gas-guzzling tractors for electric ones, it feels like we're on the cusp of a real transformation in how we think about food. The report also mentions climate-smart agriculture, or CSA. What exactly does that entail?
It sounds complex, but it's really about adopting agricultural practices that boost productivity and make farms more resilient to climate change while reducing emissions. And the exciting part, many of these practices are already being implemented successfully around the world.
So it's not just a pie-in-the-sky idea, it's actually happening. Do you have any examples?
Absolutely. The report highlights a project in Bangladesh, the World Bank's Livestock and Dairy Development Project. They're working with farmers to make livestock farming more productive and climate-friendly.
And tell me more. What are they doing differently?
They're focusing on improving feeding strategies, animal health and breeding practices, even incorporating low-emission technologies for milk chilling and transportation. It's about making the entire dairy supply chain more sustainable.
It's like giving the dairy industry a 21st century makeover. It's encouraging to see these concrete examples of CSA in action.
It really shows that a more sustainable food system is within reach. However, the report acknowledges that implementing these solutions, especially in developing nations, often comes down to one thing: financing.
It always seems to come back to money, doesn't it? What are some of the financial mechanisms the report highlights?
Blended finance, for one. This approach involves using public funds to attract private investment player, sharing the risk, and making these projects more appealing to investors. It's about leveraging public-private partnerships for the planet.
I like it. Using a little bit of public money to unlock a whole lot of private investment for sustainable development. What else?
Carbon markets are another avenue. They put a price on carbon emissions, rewarding those who reduce their footprint and incentivizing cleaner practices.
So it's like creating a financial incentive for companies and countries to go green. The report also mentions this incredible statistic about repurposing harmful subsidies. What's that all about?
This is a big one. It turns out that redirecting just $70 billion of global agricultural support money that's currently often propping up unsustainable practices could significantly boost food production and reduce emissions.
70 billion. That's a drop in the bucket compared to some government budgets. So it's about taking money that's doing more harm than good and using it to incentivize positive change.
Exactly. Ensuring financial resources support our sustainability goals is crucial. But the report emphasizes that money and technology alone aren't enough.
It's not just about throwing money at the problem or inventing some new gadget, right? We're talking about systemic change.
You got it. The report calls for a holistic approach, emphasizing the crucial role of policy information, sharing innovation, robust institutions, and importantly, ensuring inclusion and equity throughout this transition.
So it's about making sure everyone benefits from a more sustainable food system, not just those in wealthy countries or those with access to the latest technology.
Precisely. And that brings us to the importance of better information, particularly when it comes to monitoring emissions.
So we're talking about accurately measuring and reporting emissions from the food system, right? Making sure we're on track to meet our climate goals.
Right. Having a clear picture of our progress is crucial for accountability.
So how do we get a clearer picture? What does the report suggest?
Well, it points to the potential of digital technologies like sensors and digital monitoring platforms. These could provide real-time data on environmental impacts throughout the food supply chain, making it easier and more cost-effective to track emissions.
It's like using the power of big data to make the food system more transparent and accountable. But even with better data and smarter technology, the report emphasizes the need for continuous innovation. Right.
Absolutely. It highlights the crucial role of research and development in driving further emissions reductions.
So what's cooking in the world of food tech? Give me some examples of these game-changing innovations.
Well, the report mentions exploring alternative protein sources like algae bivalves and even insects options that often have a lower environmental footprint compared to traditional livestock.
Insects. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up my burgers for cricket patties just yet, but I'm open to trying. What else?
Another promising area is cellular agriculture growing meat in a lab. This technology has the potential to revolutionize meat production and significantly reduce its environmental impact.
Lab-grown meat. Now, that's something I could get behind. It's amazing to see how innovation is transforming the food industry. But I imagine there are potential downsides to consider as well, right?
You're absolutely right. The report stresses the importance of carefully considering the potential trade-offs of any new technology or practice. For instance, while some innovations might reduce emissions, they could also lead to job displacement in certain sectors.
It's crucial to ensure that the pursuit of sustainability doesn't come at the cost of social justice.
Exactly. And that's why this report emphasizes the need for a just transition one that benefits everyone.
It's a balancing act for sure, trying to find solutions that are good for both the environment and the people who depend on these systems.
Absolutely. And that's where the role of strong institutions comes in. We can't just rely on individual countries or companies to solve this. It requires global cooperation and governance.
So we're talking about the United Nations, the World Bank, those sorts of organizations, right? What does the report say about their role in this transition?
It highlights that these institutions are becoming more focused on transforming food systems in their climate commitments,
Okay.
which is promising.
Yeah,
But it also calls for a faster shift in both financing and action.
right.
For example, ensuring developing countries have access to the technology and resources needed for this transition.
It's about leveling the playing field, making sure everyone has the tools to succeed in a more sustainable world.
Exactly. And the report points to some positive steps being taken, like the World Bank's own Climate Change Action Plan, which aims to dedicate a significant portion of its funding toward climate initiatives.
That's great to hear that they're putting their money where their mouth is.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's not just about governments and international organizations. The private sector have a big role to play, too. The report highlights how organizations like the International Finance Corporation are supporting sustainable agriculture through investments and partnerships with companies even big names like Nespresso.
So it's a team effort, really. Everyone has a part to play.
Absolutely. And throughout all of this, the report stresses the importance of ensuring a just transition, one that doesn't leave anyone behind.
What what does that look like in practice? How do we make sure this transition is fair for everyone?
It's about it's about ensuring fairness in the decision-making process, giving everyone a voice. It's also about addressing past harms caused by unsustainable practices and making sure the benefits of this transition are shared equitably so everyone has access to affordable, nutritious food.
It's about recognizing that climate action and social justice are two sides of the same coin. We can't have one without the other.
Exactly. This report underscores that the future of food and the future of our planet are inseparable, but it also offers hope. Achieving a net zero food system is ambitious, but it's achievable if we act collectively and decisively.
It's a powerful message, and it leaves us with a lot to think about. What resonated most with you from this deep dive? What surprised you? Keep exploring these issues. Maybe even check out the full report yourself. It's a fascinating read.
I agree. And remember, every choice we make about the food we consume has an impact. Stay curious, stay informed, and let's all do our part to create a more sustainable and equitable future for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.